Toronto stats came out, and what we've been seeing is many different markets within the city of Toronto. Not only are each areas of the city performing differently, and each city as well that make up the Greater Toronto Area Toronto Real Estate Board, each property type is also performing significantly different and skewing the numbers one way or the other. I'm Mike Ouzas. I'm a realtor here in Toronto. Let's talk about what's been happening on the ground level for different property types here in Toronto real estate. If you ever want to book in a call with me to discuss what exactly you're looking for in the area and what's been going on specifically to you, book a call in that first link in the description down below. Feels like every time these stats come out lately, we are getting mixed emotions from media, from people who have been watching the market, and from everybody on social media as well. What we can say for sure is that each specific property type in each specific area and micro market has been performing differently, and it's a pretty similar story that we've been seeing since the start of the year. However, as these numbers continue to come out and we're now well into the spring market, we thought we'd get a little clearer picture of where things are trending and where things are actually at. One thing we do know for certain is that things continue to differentiate between each property type. We're going to start by taking a look at the actual numbers so you can see where the media or anyone who's talking about the data can skew it any way they really want to tell the narrative. Then we'll go through what's been happening for each category of property type to give a clear picture of why the numbers are coming out where they're at. First up, Greater Toronto Area market stats. Just like we show every month, months of inventory 2.54, which is a big jump from where things were back in March. Average price for the city of Toronto 1.15, which is also an increase over last month. If we look at active listings, up almost 80% year over year and about 6,000 listings month over month. Total number of sales down 5% from April of 2023, but up from March of 2023. However, March of 2023 was still one of the slowest Marches we've seen in 15 years. Jumping over to Toronto, 2.9 months of inventory, and most of that is led by condos. Average sale price 1.152. Active listings up almost 70% from a year ago, 7,500, and total number of sales down almost 6% to just under 2,600 sales. This is my favorite chart to be able to tell the story. Yes, I know it is a ton of data, but there's a few key metrics that we're going to take a look at. On the Greater Toronto Area side, average sale price 1.156. That is up from 1.121 in March, and from January, that's up almost $130,000. If we take a look at the months of inventory, we saw things start to compress in February and March. We were down under that 2 months of inventory, and if you're watching this channel, you know that that's the leading indicator of pricing. We're now at 2.54 months of inventory. That may continue to hover pricing in and around where we're at, depending on the demand, especially when it comes to higher priced properties in the city. Active listings, 18,000. Total number of sales, just over 7,100, which is up from March, but down from April. And if you compare to May of last year, we had 9,000 sales. We'll see how May comes through this year. What we do know on the ground level is that the great properties in great areas that are priced well are still selling and selling extremely fast. Typically, the properties that are in super high demand in those pockets are moving extremely quickly. We are seeing some stuff that needs a lot of work definitely sit on the market longer, especially if it's kind of in that middle where it's not so far gone that maybe a builder would take it over and rebuild the whole property, or that it's not renovated enough to today's standards. Something that's kind of in the middle that's been maybe let go for the last 20 to 30 years. Those properties I find are sitting on the market longer than expected, especially if they're not priced extremely well to reflect the condition of the property. Take a look at months of inventory and keep in mind last year in April 1.38 and this year 2.54. So 80% more listings compared to April of 2023 and almost 35% more listings compared to March of 2024. That average days on market about 3 weeks. Taking a look at where things are at from the Bank of Canada overnight rate, and we did not see a rate decrease in April, and I think that was kind of expected just given we are in the spring market. Maybe June we will see a different story, and that still remained to be seen. However, we have been seeing prices reflect almost identical to where things were last year as the trend line was going from January through June. Last June, they raised rates from June and July, which saw pricing go down. This year, if they lower rates, not sure what that will do to pricing. Typically, if the rates come down, pricing may go up. However, on the fixed side, we are seeing quite competitive rates, especially compared to the variable rates, which are tied to the Bank of Canada announcements. Now, taking a look at the benchmark price, and we're going to break down each property type individually for Toronto. Average detached price just over 1.73. Average semi-detached price, and as we've been talking month over month, semis are still the hottest property in the city of Toronto. Take a look at townhouses, about $875,000 average price, and condos at $727,000, which is up from January and in and around where things were in December of 2022. We did see a similar trend last year going in through June of 2023 across the board. Let's take a look at the Toronto detached market dating back to January 2024 to show what's been happening as we've trended along. 739 active listings in January. It went up in February and in March. And in April, a big jump from March, almost double the amount of active listings, up to 1,600 for Toronto detached. If you look at the amount of sold listings, 750. So they're still getting absorbed quite decently at 2 months of inventory. However, back in March and in February, we were well into the 1.28. If we look at the average sale price, been consistently going up month over month since January. And as these properties continue to come to market, the more that come to market, we may start seeing prices pull back a little bit, especially if that months of inventory starts to climb. If we are still seeing the absorption of properties, especially better properties or higher end properties, we will see that price increase because this is an average. If we're seeing more luxury properties sell, that will be reflected in the average price. If we take a look at semi-detached, and still, yes, the hottest property on the market. However, in March, we were down to 0.7 months of inventory, which is ultra seller's market. I'd argue that 1.29 months of inventory is still very much in a seller's market, but same kind of story for semis as detached. Double the amount of inventory came to market in April, but not quite double the amount of sales. Still a good jump from March of 2024. Taking a look at the average price in January to April 2024, up almost $165,000 for the same property in the city of Toronto. Semis will remain to be hot in the market because that is your perfect step up properties. If you're going from a condo or a townhouse into the next step, semis are usually that interim between the detached market, and it really gives a great property or great size property in the city, especially in great locations. Let's take a look at condos, and the condo market is really what's pulling up the months of inventory on average across the greater Toronto area. If we take a look at this number, 4,900 active listings, one of the highest we've seen in a very, very long time for condos. We are starting to see more of these new buildings come to market as well, which is adding to the inventory condos. That being said, pricing has still been increasing from January, February, March, and April. We're up about, give or take, 50,000 from where things were back in January, which is pretty significant, especially given that there is more inventory than there was back in January. We're also seeing more of these properties start to sell. So the months of inventory has remained relatively stable across the board, still in that balanced territory when it comes to condos. If you are considering getting into the market, a condo is a great option right now. You can look at 1 bedrooms or even 2 bedroom units that in the past might have been higher priced than they are today. And there are several of them on the market. It's a good time to get out there and take a look at various properties and see which one fits your needs the best. If we look at the average price, it's definitely jumped from where things were in January, but putting us back in line to kind of that early 2023 number as well. Those are your stats. I really hope that it painted a better picture of, instead of just going through the numbers for the month of April. As we continue through May and the weather is getting better, one thing we've also been seeing is that the rental market has definitely picked up from where things were even a month or two ago. Properties are starting to get absorbed more than they have been in the past. And like I mentioned in the detached section, properties that have really been let go over the last 20 to 30 years, but aren't quite far gone that it might interest a builder, but they're not quite up to today's standards when it comes to their finishes. Those are the properties that we're seeing a ton of them on the market and sitting on the market. When you do see this inventory, one thing we are noticing is that the best properties in the best areas and the best neighborhoods, especially if they're well priced, are selling extremely fast. And the properties that are kind of in the middle aren't really moving. The ones that are really far gone has a unique buyer that are looking for those, especially to do some renovations. Doing renovations right now requires a lot of capital after your mortgage is set. And if you are looking to renovate something, you will need that cash available after closing the property to get those renovations done. And not everybody has that cash available, especially after giving your down payment on a property. So that's where we're seeing those type of properties really sit on the market longer, unless you're a builder and have the ability to buy those and renovate them. With some of the new rules that have come into play, especially the home flipping tax where you can't sell within the first year, that's also limiting builders going out and being able to purchase those properties that are really so far gone and get them back into the market in a really nice price state for the next buyer. But we'll see as we continue to go through the spring market how things will unfold. Those semi-detached still remain the hottest, and condos, if you are in the condo market, there's really some good opportunities out there, especially in great locations in the downtown core. I'm Michael Ouzas. Thanks for watching.